What do you think the odds are?
100%.
That's great. That's actually really great.
What? The odds of what?
That we could convince Sportsnet it would be worth their money to send us to Japan.
For what?
Like now that the Jays have Okamoto, if we did like a series, we did like a tough to do a podcast series. It would have to be a video series. Like documenting going to pro baseball games, high school baseball games in Japan, and like taking in baseball culture in Japan.
I think that would be amazing.
Like stuff Hazel does pregame, right? She sits down with people, but we could do one where it's just
We get drunk at baseball games in Japan?
yeah, we're definitely having to get drunk because that's a big part of it. That's part of the culture.
Have you seen the way they serve beer at these games?
Of course, I've seen the way that they serve beers at these games. For those of you that don't know, in the Japanese Pro Baseball League, they have beer girls who wear kegs on their backs.
Yeah, they're like well known. Like
they have trading cards.
Yeah.
And they rip around the stadium.
Yeah.
They ask you what time you want your next beer. How long for you to drink your beer?
How long is now?
And apparently the timing on it is like to the letter.
I'm sure. Well, I mean, if you want to rise the ranks and be the most powerful,
but that's
beer
the
girl
thing.
celebrity.
They have it competitive style.
Yeah.
Where it's not just Rogers Center where they're just constantly moving up, and then what? I think they move to the right, like they are going.
Oh, is there a direction?
I assume.
Oh,
yeah, because you see them in.
I guess there is
a
a method to the madness.
Yeah, you go up, you go down, you go across, you go down, you go up, you go down, you go across, you go down. That's the way they do it.
I'd also like to see a series, like a video series of you being a beer vendor for a day. That might be interesting.
I would not like that. That's a hard job, man.
Yeah, physically demanding.
Okay, so I've always heard people who they have the take of, hey, like I don't really tip. I tip $1 on when I buy beers at a stadium because they're just cracking the can for me. Mm-hmm. That I'm here for.
Yeah, you go up and you walk to the concourse.
Yeah, if you walked to the concourse yourself and you went and got the beer, like for me, I just avoid that entirely if I don't want to tip because I'll just go to the tap and go and be like, okay, well, now I've literally done it myself, so there's no feeling of pressure whatsoever. Like I like having that option.
Yes.
But if you don't tip heavily to the people who bring you the beers and the seats, I think you belong in jail.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's no question. Like,
right.
If we're tipping for service,
yeah, that's like a real service.
Yeah.
You don't have to get up out of your seat.
No.
Get to enjoy the game.
You.
They got to like crouch down in that horrible crouch to try to make sure fans can see.
Yep.
No. And then if you don't bang that button, I'm sorry. There's just no. You can't pull the well, beer's so expensive. Nah, sorry.
That's you agreed to that. When you entered the building, you knew that was going to be the case.
That's right. So, I didn't know that was the. No, come on.
You don't want to tip? You walk yourself up to the concourse.
Up.
Yep. And you do it yourself.
So that's a very hard job, so I don't really want to do it at all.
What you want to do is you want the company to pay you to go across the world.
Us.
Right. Actually, yeah. I shouldn't talk about it. You want to do this incredibly important work
I don't think it's a bad idea.
Going to Japan and watching
multiple baseball games. I wouldn't just go for one.
Yeah.
Because have you seen some of the highlights from some of the high-level baseball in high school?
I saw that exhibition game where, what was it, Ichiro threw up and in on some girls, some Japanese high school.
That also rocked so hard that Ichiro played a baseball game against a girls' high school team, and he didn't dial it back even 1%.
Yeah.
And they dominated them. Ichiro's team dominated them. He was like, yep, that's the way you learn. No, they'll pack in the high school games. They've got crazy baseball culture over there. So, yeah, there's the beer girls. That's obvious. That's cool. That's obviously cool. They've got kegs on their backs. They compete with one another for what the best sections are. If your rating goes up, you get the better section. Yeah, they time out the beer for you. They remember your face. They have you seen the refilling of the kegs? It's like rapid fast.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, they've got they've got a zipper right at the top of the bag because they wear the backpack because it's all different brands of beer.
Yeah.
And then they rip to the refueling station, and it's basically It's basically Formula One. Box. And then it's the tires. I'm telling you, it's the tires, bro. And then they get out of there. You didn't like that F1 movie. I disagree with you. I thought that.
Oh my God. It was so. Yeah.
No, you're an idiot. That movie rocked. That was a solid.
It looked good and it sounded good, which I guess is what you sign up for. But it was just so eye roll.
No, F1 rocked. I love how there's gonna be people be like, you didn't like one battle after another, and you liked F1. Yeah, I did. That's who I am.
An idiot. Yeah.
No. One battle after another was just so complex for me. I just couldn't even understand what they were going for.
No. You loved Happy Gilmore too.
But the girl who screws up at the beginning of F1.
Yes.
That's what I picture if the refueling station, and they're like, they're like, oh, we're out of beer. She's like, no, I told this guy I was going to be there at 8:08 sharp, and now I can't do it. So they've got the beer girls. They do cool balloon celebrations where they'll fire off.
I haven't seen the balloons.
Yeah, they'll have balloons, and then they'll let the air out of it, and they'll all fly up at the air at the same time. They do chants.
Less cool than beer, but
it's closer to a soccer crowd from what I've observed through social media. Granted, social media tough to get the full read.
That's why we got to go.
But now you're getting it.
No, I would love to. I
think it's the number one item on my sports bucket list now, man. I've done.
You haven't done European soccer though, right?
No, because when I was in Europe last, they were on international break.
You would have done it.
Yes, 100% I would have done it. And not to equate them at all. I'm not going to pretend that it's the same whatsoever, but at least I've been to high-level soccer games. I've been to, and I'm going to go to a World Cup game.
You are?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, you haven't plunked down tickets.
No, because, listen, I'm trying to work different avenues for it.
That's a tough ticket, man.
Yeah.
Tougher than World Series tickets. I would guess. Oh, yeah.
Guess who went to all the World Series games?
Yeah. I said tougher.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You think it's tougher than going to all the World Series games? I went to all but one.
I went to all the World Series games.
As media. Yeah. I went in a seat drinking beers.
I had a better seat than you in Game 7.
Yeah, you went to a luxury box. I don't think it was a better seat, though.
It was a better seat.
Oh, yeah, it was. Anyway, well, who cares? Whatever. Anyway, the point is that I'm going to see a World Cup game. It's not going to come to my city, and I'm going to neglect that opportunity to go. And yes, I will plunk down the money to just live that experience once. I just have to. My biggest sports regret, I guess, was Messi he barely played. But I wish I did see Messi.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. No.
Even just for the novelty of it.
Listen, I'm a guy that traveled through California to see Barry Bonds.
Yeah.
I wanted to see Barry Bonds.
Yeah.
Buddy. I also wanted to see Bob Barker. That was part of it too. We saw Bob Barker's last season of taping Price is Right, one of the most electric 45 minutes of my entire life. It was insane.
That's how long the taping is?
It's so quick.
I thought they would tape multiple.
I don't know if they did. We only saw one.
Yeah, so you watched one and you left, but they must tape multiple in a day.
I forget what it was.
There's no way they have Bob Barker get his ass out there and do 45 minutes, get back in his car.
No, but the thing is, those were special, and he was obviously late in the career. So
when was he not late in his career?
Yeah. No, haven't you seen the early days of Bob Barker with the brown hair? Anyways, that was amazing. Yes, I went to
died.
At one point, he didn't have gray hair.
Yeah.
And it was brown.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, I went to go see Barry Bonds because you want to have said you saw it with your eyes.
Yeah.
And guess what? I saw a million intentional walks. And I think he swung the bat one time, maybe the entire. We saw multiple games too because we went to Oakland. We went to San Francisco. We saw him play interleague, I believe, too. And we just saw him all over the place. We saw him at Dodger Stadium. It was very cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to. The only great athlete. I'm not counting soccer. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen Patrick Mahomes live, and I blew the opportunity this year with the Bills game. I should have just gone to that, but I choked. It was too early. It was like the Jays were happening and the Leafs, and it was just too much. But I think in terms of, I've never been to a college bowl game. I've never been to a Super Bowl, but I would way rather go to Japan to watch baseball than the Super Bowl now.
Yeah, the Super Bowl, it seems. And honestly, the NFL experience as a whole.
I've never been to NASCAR.
I've been to a NASCAR. race.
Yeah.
And I've been to it in Kentucky, which kind of feels like if you're going to go to a NASCAR race, let it be in Kentucky.
Yeah.
And I got
Can
that.
I say, though, I've heard NASCAR races going live is like super overrated.
Oh, I disagree. It's awesome. What you have to do, though, is invest in renting the headset, right?
Yeah.
Where it's not just muffles the sound, but like you get the broadcast of the race. But no, the sound of the start and the restart and the smell, that was heart palpitating. And also, who's telling you this, by the way?
I just heard it's like you sit in the hot sun for a long time and
drinking beer, watching sports, and you can see the whole oval too. That's the thing that I don't think I understood.
Yeah, but there's a lot of places with like no coverage, and you're just in this beating sun. I don't know.
Yeah, you're white as a sheet, so I guess you'd die.
Oh yeah,
you'd be
Mr. Actually, you kind of are.
Yeah, I mean,
you kind of are Tommy Bahama. You are Tommy. You are Big Tom.
Yeah.
You go golfing one day and you show up here and you look like you've been living south of the border for the past 3 years.
Skin loves the sun.
Yeah.
You look like talk to me in 20 years. But right now, it suits me. And I love it. No, I think the thing that I never considered, and I'm stupid for not considering it, is like you see the whole oval when you're watching a NASCAR race. So you can track the whole track and how your cars. It's not like an F1 race.
I actually didn't think that.
Yeah.
Until you said it right now.
Yeah, it's like an F1 race. It's like, cool. You saw it.
Yeah.
That was it. No. And it's 1,000 times the price.
Yeah, but here's the thing about but that's the thing about the F1 race that's different is like when you go to F1 versus when you go to NASCAR is like NASCAR you go and I'm not trying to offend anyone, but the assumption is it's like this is what you spend all your money on. Versus if you're at an F1 race.
That's more like, your people. No. Cristal. Yeah, it's like my people, they're in it for the sport. I'm more of the beer drinking crowd. You're like, you want your Dom Perignon on your Cristal and not even paying attention to the sport. I want to go to the sport with the people that care about the sport drinking beer. You want to just be seen.
I do. But I can't afford it. I love luxury. Oh, goodness, would I love to be luxurious and to be able to just go to Monaco. And you see that kind of wealth and you go, how is it even possible? What is it that you guys did? You did crimes.
Yeah, 100%
so much crime happened for you to have this, right? Like, do you remember the Max Verstappen episode where it's like he's from there?
All the F1 drivers live there.
I know.
I mean, he's Dutch, but
No, I know he's Dutch.
He's son of a driver, right?
Yeah, but he has, they've lived in Monaco for quite some time. And he's like going out on the boat. And
Charles Leclerc, like he's actually Monegasque. And it's like, wow. Hard to imagine you ended up in this place.
How did you do it? There's the one kid whose dad literally just owns the team. And he made him a driver. Kid, you go, I know it's a Canadian kid. That's why people are like, how come you don't root for him like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander? Like, I wonder. I wonder why.
Like you root for Shea Gilgeous-Alexander?
I don't. Yeah. I will say, though, that when I did watch Shea have his day with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, I felt very...
You felt
emotional.
bad about your little take.
I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel bad about hating the Oklahoma City Thunder. Any reasonable person in my position would do the exact same thing.
Sure.
So there's nothing to it. If Shea was on a different team, he'd be my favorite player. I don't know.
Even
actually,
style,
that's not even true.
Yeah, I mean, you're unless you're totally putting it on because of the uniform he wears, but you're against the whole Shea offensive style.
Not the whole Shea offensive style, but I do think that his fans annoy me a little bit where they don't even acknowledge the foul baiting stuff when he clearly does it. Like Armin on our show constantly tries to compare him to Jokic. And I'm like, no, this is not a thing. So secretly I've kind of become a full-time Denver Nuggets fan.
Yeah.
I watch pretty much every Jokic game, and him getting hurt has really opened up my basketball and hockey watching schedule.
That was another box you were going to check over New Year's.
I know. I haven't seen Jokic, but I would still choose to go to Japan over going to a Denver Nuggets game. I'm trying to think if I've actually ever seen the Nuggets play sans Jokic. I don't think so. But either way, like that's the number one thing on my bucket list. I want to go to Japan. I want to watch baseball there.
Yeah.
And I'm actually very interested in Japan's history too, but I was actually talking to you about a great Dan Carlin episode that he had, the Superpower or Supernova of the East that he did.
Yeah.
Six-parter on Japan's military history, and you're like, I don't like Dan Carlin.
It's not what I said.
Yeah,
because I have listened to full episodes, and they take forever.
Yeah, they do. That's the best part about it, is that you think you've gotten so much, and then there's more.
Yeah, find his voice a little grating.
Nah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
A slight disagree. I'm not going to go to the wall. I don't dislike it as much as you dislike Shea and Our Nation, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I love Our Nation.
You said yeah.
I love Our Nation, and you know that. Don't make jokes about that. So that kind of brings me to this. So they sign Okamoto, and I actually think that a lot of people experienced the same thing with the signing, which was stages of grief. Mm-hmm. Because he made $60 million. Like, originally they sign him. You don't know who he is, so you have no idea what the money's going to be.
Right. You're like, what? Why wasn't this on anyone's radar?
Yeah. This was, a couple people sort of did allude to it.
2 days prior.
Yeah, but I know. But there were a couple people that had that. I want to give credit, but I can't remember who it was. But a couple people did have it.
All right.
And a couple Blue Jays Twitter people were like very much in they should get this guy camp. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know who he was, and I don't think most people did. They sign him. The automatic response is, well, it must be cheap because he wasn't in the conversation of the top 3 Japanese players this year, right? Like, Imai got way more hype and way more publicity in this city of like, hey, are they going to get Imai? Are they going to get Imai? And they sign him. You've discovered that he's like very good. He's a great bat over in Japan. A little bit of an older player. Like, he's 29, right?
Yeah.
I just mean older in the sense of some of the young pitchers that have posted the last couple of years, like Roki Sasaki, for example. When we were going through that, it was all predicated around, and you're going to have this guy forever, and he's so young, and there's so much untapped potential. This is supposed to be more of a known commodity.
Yep.
So you find out who he is, and then you see the contract, and you go, boy, $60 million. That has to mean no Bo Bichette. So my reaction, I think, was fairly similar to a lot of fans, which was, I would just rather have Bo Bichette, which is a totally fair take even still to this day of why wouldn't you just pay Bo? And then you start to do a bit of research on this guy, and everything you look into is exciting. Mm-hmm. And of course, there have been Japanese players that have come over, and it hasn't worked out the way that they were prolific in Japan. Mm-hmm. But given his career numbers at the plate, his contact rate, his skills, exactly. And also just, he's got incredible highlights. He won.
Oh my God, does he ever have incredible highlights?
Yeah, he's hit all the best pitchers from Japan for absolute moonshots, right? Like all the Dodgers guys that you grew to hate, he's put them on the moon.
There's a highlight of him beating single-handedly the United States.
That's the other one I was going to say. Is he hits the game-winning home run against the United States.
There's also that one of Randy Arozarena robbing a home run from him. Team Mexico.
Yeah. That still bothers me.
Yeah.
So I think people started to turn around a little bit on this guy and get a little excited. Then he shows up for media day, or not media day, but his media conference. Mm-hmm. And he's got a sense of humor.
We think. The translator didn't tell us what made him laugh so hard.
Yeah, but he did have the one John Schneider line, too, that I laughed at, where it's a scary face. It's like, you got a scary face, but you're a nice guy. I was like, that's cool. Yeah. Anyways, just seems to get it. Seems like a gamer. Seems like he has some big clutch moments. And
totally.
I believe now that he has a very high likelihood of becoming a fan favorite here.
Oh, yeah.
That if you're looking at next season with the Toronto Blue Jays, Vladdy and Ernie lead the way in terms of who the fan favorites are. Like now, the reason why I bring this up is if Bo Bichette is in fact leaving, which I'm guessing at this point, they're not going to bring him back. It's just a guess, but it really does feel like from all the reports that they're pretty all in on Kyle Tucker in terms of that's their target. Mm-hmm. And for them to reacquire Bo Bichette, it would take his market to essentially crater out and Toronto to land him on, I said, kind of the Pete Alonso deal, where it's big-time opt-outs, it's a prove-it year, he comes back for one, whatever.
What is his market, though, is an open question, because I'm dubious, and now like there's cold water on the Yankees rumors, like maybe the Cubs. It still feels like the Dodgers to me.
I know. It really does. It really does feel like the Dodgers, which is crushing, because to me there is, they've done this, we did this thing during the offseason of, hey, could it be Tucker and Bo? Mm-hmm. And now it feels like there actually is a team that could do that, and it's the Dodgers, and whatever. Anyway, I want to stick with this, and then we'll get into some Tucker stuff. Mm-hmm. So you would agree that Clement and Guerrero are the number 1 and 2 fan favorites that will sell the most jerseys. If they put out if they were to put out a new night mode, those would be the highest jersey sales, those two guys.
Vlad for sure. Yeah.
Because Bo used to be one of the guys. You see the most Bo Bichette player tees and jerseys at the ballpark.
Yeah, and I guess with the pending free agency of George Springer, it's not him. I don't know. Like a starting pitcher, you don't see that. Like
I also think there's something when people buy jerseys and when they're investing in a player.
Yes.
Part of it is you want to buy a jersey that's going to last. And as much as I think people do love George Springer, it's impossible to ignore that he's in the final year of his contract and that he's an older player. And so I think you're more likely to buy that one if you're closer to our age, like you're in your 30s.
Yeah.
Or than you are if you're a kid. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe a kid wants one because the Springer Dinger was such a seminal one. But either way, I have those two guys as my top 2 fan favorites.
I think that's fair.
And I think that Okamoto can be one of the other top 4 fan favorites.
Yeah, and especially if you're talking about global reach. Right?
That's it. I can see it.
Yeah.
I could see him being very likable and him putting the ball in play and being new and feeling like a real add to this team. And yeah, I just he's got fan favorite potential for me. He's got the Big Baby Big Oak nickname.
The personality, though, is a big part of that.
That's what I'm saying. He's got a big personality. But they're losing Bo and they're losing Bassett, who I would say were 2 of the biggest fan favorites from the World Series run. I know Bo wasn't a part of the entire thing, but at the end, man, he had a 3-run home run on one leg and gutted it out to play with the Blue Jays at the very end of it.
Yeah.
Who do you think would be, if we were doing this is just Mount Rushmore talk, but if there was a 4th guy who you'd be betting on, because I'm betting on Okamoto becoming a fan favorite. If you had to pick a 4th spot, who do you think is going to be the 4th guy?
I really do think with what we learned about Trey Savage and his history and the family and knowing in such a short period of time, we got all the Trey Savage images and information and heartstrings pulled that you could possibly get for a professional athlete drafted and developed and immediately showed up and performed. And again, the emotional attachment that already exists between the fan base and him and the youth. And you want to talk about spending a generation watching one player play for your team. Obviously, Vlad is factually just locked up for his entire career. The way Major League Baseball works, you're going to get at least, a half decade plus of Trey Savage. And if he performs well, going to break every record there is to break. And there's some good, the pitching records for the Blue Jays. Those are some impressive marks because they're set by Roy Halladay. If he lives up to the potential that he's already shown, I don't think that's speaking out of school. In what the limited sample we've seen out of Trey Savage, if that continues and he stays healthy and he spends his career in Toronto, he's going to lead the franchise in a bunch of different categories. Granted, probably would have said that about Alek Manoah, right? I'm not counting my chickens. I'm just saying what we've seen so far. I think he has high potential to be one of those central figures and one of those clear fan favorites.
My only reservation with him is the old sophomore slump of it all.
Yeah, and the adjustment that baseball is going to make to him. There will be some adjustment. I mean,
do you think there's a guy that's working on a trajectory machine that throws from higher
and
because of Trey Savage?
Yeah, and if there's not, that should be us. We should be.
Just sell the idea. We don't know how to do it, but we go to the baseball teams and we're like,
you should do it.
You should get a bigger trajectory machine. They're
just stack them on top of each other. I don't understand.
They treat us like Paul DePodesta. Moneyball.
Yeah.
We're just 2 little fat guys in the corner. Yeah. They're like, look at these 2 little fat guys. Yeah. They know what they're talking about here. Bigger trajectory machine. And then they make a movie about us someday when the Yankees hit 5 home runs off of Trey Savage.
Oh, yeah, and we can't ever come back here.
Yeah, and that's our legacy, is the greatest traders ever. We'd have to go to Japan.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually that's our path to Japan. It's we betray the Blue Jays fan base, give the trajectory machine to the Red Sox and the Yankees, and then live the rest of our days out in Japan watching, Japanese high school baseball. Actually, it doesn't sound like the worst plan.
I'm okay.
We're obviously rich in this situation.
And you're kind of tall.
In Japan?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think an underrated part of why maybe subconsciously you want to go to Asia.
Yeah, that's it. It's all a big ploy to have 5'10" be tall. I did tell you that I'm worried about like shrinking. Because it's like I'm 5'10", which is fine, but when I get older, it's like I think I'd be a tiny little guy. I'm going to be like the old man where it's like if you bump into me on the subway, like you feel horrible about it.
Yeah. Although you're not likely to fall over because your center of gravity.
No, that's true. Yeah.
So low.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's as important. When the older you get, is your height like you kind of expect? You're hunched over anyway. It's like, oh, maybe he was hunched. That's why he looks so short.
I should become a hermit anyway. I'll just be inside.
Yeah.
I'm going to be inside
in Japan. No, you'll be in Japan.
Yeah, that's true. I'll be going
where the elders
Japanese garden. Yeah,
they get respect way more than here. I'm selling myself on moving to Japan.
Yeah, man. The original plan was go work at a Bunkis in Austin, Texas, or somewhere in Texas.
Yeah.
And now I think this is the new plan.
Yeah.
This is the new plan. I think that we should be investing in this. Anyway, okay, so the Kyle Tucker stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mitch Bannon says that what was the phrasing on it?
I deleted it.
They've increased their pursuit, or they've gotten more aggressive in their pursuit. Yes, I've got him on tomorrow.
Yeah, it wasn't specific what that means, and maybe that's just, hey, we're talking more. We're sending George Springer to the indoor golf thing with you, TGL in Florida. We'll pay for your night out with George Springer. Or maybe we're upping our offer. There has not been a definitive report that even an offer has been made, where we have seen reports like Cody Bellinger has received now 2 offers from the New York Yankees. There has not been a definitive report that Kyle Tucker has received any kind of official offer from anybody.
Mm-hmm. So I was making the case yesterday that to me, the team makes way more sense if it has Kyle Tucker. No duh. Hey, you added a super talented player and your team looks better. But just from the more I was thinking about it, this is sort of why I've landed on why it makes so much sense. Yes, they would have to pay an absurd amount of competitive balance tax. Mm-hmm. It's at this point, I think I read it's 90% of the contract value is paid against the CBT. Mm-hmm. They're already paying a ton.
It hurts more the repeater tax. Like,
yes,
it means that.
That's why I think it's 90%.
Yeah.
No, but that's sort of where I'm going with this. Is originally when they signed Okamoto, and I'm talking about the stages of grief, Bo was a big part of it because I've said to you from the outset, I wanted Bo Bichette back. I felt like there was unfinished business. Bo Bichette is a gamer. I think he has the it factor. I think when a guy loves Toronto and actually wants to be in Toronto, and as much as we like to fight back on that idea at times where we're like, who wouldn't want to be in Toronto? Everybody wants to be in Toronto. It's one of the greatest markets, and it's so big, and it's a beautiful metropolis with every amenity for people with money that you could possibly imagine. It just isn't the case with everybody. Like part of the reason why they seemingly have more of a shot with Kyle Tucker is that their spring training facilities are close to where he lives, and he's an East Coast guy. Mm-hmm. Like, if the Jays swapped sides of the country with the Dodgers, and they were just the exact same franchises, they probably would have landed Shohei.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when Bo says, I love it here and he wants to be invested here, I don't like looking a gift horse in the mouth kind of thing, especially for someone that talented. And I do think that front offices at times, and they clearly have more information than us, and there's something to be said about Bo getting hurt the last 2 years. Maybe they have medicals on that they don't really believe in. His sprint speed dropped off a cliff even before he was hurt.
The athleticism.
Yes, there's some questions about his defense. Like I've talked to guys like Kylie McDaniel who mentioned things like Vladdy's actually the better long-term bet, even though everyone always looked at it through the lens of, well, will Vladdy age well? No, actually, Bo's contact rate and the way that he plays might be the more difficult aging curve. So if he's asking for a long-term contract, like I get it. But part of me does wonder with baseball front offices, and I'm not just saying this one. I think all front offices in general, they're tinkerers. They're you with your fantasy lineup where you're like, how can I make it just like a little bit better? And then you do the thing, and then you play the guy because you were like, oh, the matchup-based stats that I read on this one nerd's article indicated I should have played this guy. And then Sunday finishes, and that guy got 4 points, and the guy that you've just was the stud who's proven out for you time and time again has 22. And you're like, oh, why did I overthink this? And it does reek a smidge of overthink to me. Like going to Japan and getting the guy and then playing free agency out the way that they have. Like there's a case for it, and we'll judge them on the results, like obviously. But I'm just saying, as of right now, I always wanted Bo. Now it feels like Tucker, like he's the guy that really balances out this lineup. I think he removes a lot of your negative regression that you could have as a team offensively from a lot of your different players.
Oh, yeah. It just makes it so much easier if you get an underperformance or a regression or somebody gets hurt, right?
Yes.
It's like, I'm sorry that one of Anthony Santander or Okamoto or Barger or Clement has to sit on a certain day, but and I hate the phrase, like, these things take care of themselves, because it doesn't always happen, right? Like, hey, Blue Jays had to run a 6-man rotation because it didn't take care of itself last season. But, I can live with a world where Anthony Santander isn't playing every day, or God forbid Okamoto gets a day or two off a week, and you just have to rotate those guys around until maybe somebody gets hurt or somebody grabs that job by the horns and they force themselves into the lineup every day. That's a good problem to have, and then you do insulate yourself from the potential injury.
So this is the case that I'm outlining for getting Tucker is, people don't want to hear, like, I got it all in my mentions yesterday about how, why should we care about the competitive balance tax, and why should we care about how much money they're spending? It's like, ultimately, like, I don't really. If they wanted to spend it, they spend it. Like, I'm not going to try to be your accountant. Like, remember that show Entourage? There was an episode where Vinny Chase is spending he's spending all the money, and his money guy's like, Vince, you can't keep doing this. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
Keep spending.
But sure, but there are limits, man. And when I'm looking at it right now, and with that repeater tax and how much they have already spent and how much they've invested, and Ross Atkins talking about, hey, like, things are available to us from ownership, but now we do feel like we're taking away time from real major league players. That doesn't become a consideration, the taking playing time away from people, if you're signing Kyle Tucker, obviously, like, to a contract that you like. But I can't help but look at it and just say, all right, the Jays are different now. I do think that they're going to be spenders moving forward. Would you agree?
Yeah.
But just treating next season as like a one-off year where you're looking at it and going, all right, we're bringing in Kyle Tucker, but now what this means is if Varsho needs a big deal, he's gone. If Gossman has a great year and he needs a big deal, he's gone. And we're going to replace him with another Cody Ponce type in free agency, where it's like a more traditional fifth starter, and you're not going to have the luxury of all these high-priced guys. If Shane Bieber has a really good year and he's interested in coming back, but he's commanding big money, he's gone. You're getting George Springer off the books. I'm like, you're moving a Nathan Lucas maybe to center field the following season and saying, like, yeah, we're going to have to nickel and dime a couple of spots here in order to have the studs that you want to have for this season. Like, would you sign up for that, essentially, where it's the spending is not going crazy year over year over year, because you're just not seeing, you're not going to have it be like essentially the Dodgers situation where they're always a wild card to just continuously spend more, but you're having it look at it and go, you made it to the doorstep of a World Series. You've got this 1 year before there's going to be probably a lockout. And while I'm not hearing people say that they're going to get a salary cap in there, what I am getting a feel for is that there is going to be some kind of a give back by the players when it comes to maybe like money deferrals or the ways that teams can manipulate their spending, ceilings on amount of guys that you could have. Like, I just think that there's going to be some concessions by the players union. Mm-hmm. There has to be.
Yeah. It's probably not going to benefit the top end spenders.
No, which is why I think, again, if you're a Blue Jays fan and you want a salary cap in baseball, you've lost your mind.
Yeah, no, you haven't been paying attention to pro sports the last 2 decades. No, I'm 100% with you. It's weird to say about a team that was an inch short of winning the World Series, but signing Kyle Tucker is important for 2027, like almost more than 2026. Like, he obviously helps you a lot in 2026, and maybe he'll be better the younger he is in 26 than 27. But the Blue Jays did make a World Series without, like, the lineup that you have right now. Mm-hmm. It was worse than this when they made the World Series. Like, they've literally
assuming
added.
You're having a healthy Santander, you're having a healthy Okamoto, you got a better starting rotation.
It's better. It's already better than the team that made the World Series. And you
could argue the bullpen is not as good.
Maybe. I don't know what Jimmy Garcia is, though.
Yeah, I'm just saying you could make the case where it's like you're losing 2 guys that pitched for you in leverage and you only added 1. And they add Jimmy Garcia. I guess you're kind of adding, but I keep thinking about Jeff Blair when he came on and talked to me when they first signed Jimmy, and he was like, he's not going to stay healthy.
Yeah. Pitching is hard to predict when it comes to health. And the Blue Jays smartly have identified the one way you can identify who's going to stay healthy. It's the guys that have been healthy for their entire careers, including 35-year-old Tyler Rogers.
Yeah, they throw 50 miles per hour.
That's right. Yeah, you just get the guys with the rubber arm that don't throw very hard, but somehow still get people out. But no, you could. It's 2026. It's way easier to imagine a path to 94 plus wins with this lineup without Kyle Tucker. It's 2027. What are you doing if Dalton Varsho, who's a Scott Boras client, so it's not unlikely that you're going to come together on an in-season extension for him. Yeah. That's why you hire Scott Boras, is to break the bank. And George Springer headed to free agency, total unknown. I think both parties are waiting to see if he could do it again. And, hey, maybe mid-season he can, and you can figure out some sort of path to continuing the relationship going forward. Gossman, like there's huge question marks in 2027 where you'd sure like to have had your other running mate to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. figured out. And you've talked about the 2027 free agent pile being so empty. Maybe it will include Bo because he'll get like some opt-out deal with somebody like the Pete Alonso deal. But yeah, your window is open to get a difference-making player who fits the bill, fits positionally, and can grow alongside this group. Yeah, I think it's not more important for 2027 because you're in your contention right now in 2026.
And if you bring him in for 2026 with this roster, the strongest case for it, if you're Ross Atkins, you're Mark Shapiro, and you're asking for the money, which I think they have. Like, I'm not getting the sense that ownership
when Ross Atkins was asked about future additions, he didn't say, well, there's money we got to probably ship out. It was, we're playing time we got to figure out. There's good players that aren't getting as much playing time.
Well, and it should be said this too. If people are like, well, what do you expect him to say? No one's going to say that we're not in on Kyle Tucker if there's the price is right. It's like teams like the Rangers came out before the winter meetings and said, you get what you get.
Yeah. Don't be upset.
Yeah. No fussing.
Yeah.
No fussing. And that was it. So the Blue Jays, who have all this pressure on them from the fans to just keep adding more and more and more, could have easily, at this point of the offseason, spent this much money and said something along the lines of course, anything could happen, but we're very happy with this baseball team and we think we're done.
Yeah, it didn't sound like that.
And no one would have you couldn't have been like, that's completely unreasonable. How could you spit in fans' face like that? When you look at the addition and you're like,
spent $300 million.
Correct. But the biggest case for them, if they were to go down and sit at a meeting and they were making the case for Kyle Tucker, and the best, I think, case they have for Kyle Tucker in terms of outside of the money that he wants is, hey, man, if you come here, we are the favorites in the American League. Period. Like, if you go to the Mets, you think you're going to win with the Mets? Like, show me their lineup, show me their roster. Like, okay, that's good. There's good players here. Sorry, what about the dysfunction with their team last season? What about the fact that we openly got reports that McNeil and Lindor hated each other's guts and that Diaz didn't even ask for a counteroffer versus this place where everybody wanted to run it back, and you have guys like Max Scherzer going on pods saying, I want to run it back at 42 with this team.
And whether you're the world's best friend with your former teammate George Springer, you obviously have some sort of previous relationship, right?
Yeah, I do wonder about Springer's recruitment of him.
Yeah.
I thought about that the other day when I saw them together. I'm like, was he his vet? Like, was he the guy that he leaned on? Is he his mentor? Like,
I didn't like that Michael Brantley was in between the two, right? It was the three of them. And
Michael Brantley, though, supposed to come here too.
Yeah, and he didn't. And that ended up being a coup.
But he was supposed to.
Yeah, he's a poster. Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, he dealt with the process, and maybe Michael Brantley says,
I regret it.
Yeah. Hey, if you got a shot, sign with the Blue Jays.
I think he more regretted whatever he did to his body that made it break down continuously.
Immediately.
And his entire career. But no, it's also hard to gauge what exactly motivates Kyle Tucker. I tend to think, generally speaking, it's money.
Money in situation, though, but it's like it's on the East Coast. It's closer to his summer home.
What I don't get.
Or sorry, his, I guess, winter home.
His everyday home.
Yeah.
Where his family lives. But
but his everyday home, you're hoping, is Toronto. It's a condo.
Sure. What I don't understand, so the Dodgers part of this has been clear to me. And obviously things can change because money, it's not a thing to them. But like my understanding, their involvement in the Tucker was if his market isn't what he thinks it is, if 400 million isn't out there, we'll give him 2 at 90 or something. And I was like, okay, I guess, but like seems like as maybe down as you think Kyle Tucker's. He's played 130 games and had an on-base percentage of 370 and had like a higher OPS plus than he had 2 years ago in Houston. Okay. So it wasn't a nightmare for Kyle Tucker. Still,
no, it wasn't a nightmare, but if I can apply the Sullinger test very quickly in terms of market and the way that they feel about a guy, I don't think Cubs fans, from what I've gathered, are distraught that he's not returning.
Sure. Yeah. And the Cubs haven't made any effort
I think they're pissed off about that they're not spending and they're not more aggressive. But my read on Cubs fandom at this juncture was not he soared through the Sullinger test.
Of course. And the end of the year wasn't as great, but maybe injury concerns there, whatever. I tend to think that the guy who's already – his numbers don't blow you out of the water in the postseason, but he's performed – he's had postseasons where he's performed
well, yeah, and even if you just want to do it by, like, WAR, right? And I know Bo had the one complete injury year where he basically, I think, added only 0.3 WAR an entire season. It wasn't very good. But Kyle Tucker's WAR in the last 3 years versus Bo Bichette's, like there is a huge difference.
Yeah, because he's not an average defender. He's a good defender, and he steals 30 bases.
Yes, you have to look at it through that lens. And honestly, man, there is something to be said about that too with the Jays base running. If you're going to be the contact team and you're going to have guys going station to station,
be kind of counter to all their additions.
I know.
Really.
But that's kind of my point is it would be nice to have a couple of guys on the base paths who can run and one of them being Kyle Tucker.
Anyways, so the Dodgers I thought were in on a shorter term, a higher AAV thing. Yeah. And then like the Mets, they got to do something. The Mets they're not just going to really just not do anything.
That really is still a wild card to me.
But now there's this report that the Mets are also in on it if it's a short, high AAV deal, which to me leaves one team that's willing to pay Kyle Tucker what he wants and what I think he deserves considering the resume, and that's the Blue Jays.
So I had somebody recently, because a while back, I was like feeling out. I saw Colin McDaniel and I can't remember who else it was for ESPN. They wrote an article projecting the contracts, and I sent it around to a few people and was like, hey, like, what's your read on this? And where do you think? And universally, I got back. There's no chance he's getting $400 million. Like that was because I think Kylie had him just shade under or right around it. And most people came back with like, yeah, he's not going to do that. He's not going to get that. And I had the numbers come in and it's pretty much universally like less than 350. And some people had like 325. And recently I was like feeling that out again. And those same people were like, I don't know if it's guaranteed to be like much over 300 at all. So,
yeah, and maybe that's disappointing to Kyle Tucker. And I don't know, but like, what is the scenario where he has a 2026, and so whatever the short-term deal is with the Mets or the Dodgers, there'd be an opt-out definitely after 2026, right?
Yes, but what I'm going with this is I'm of two minds. One is, okay, man, if you can get $300 million, and if that's what the Blue Jays offer is, say, right? Because I would have to guess that it's around that they would be willing to pay him if everyone keeps saying they're in it, and you know, the Jays have been used for leverage before, and, you know, we just went through this Marchand thing, right, where he talked about how he thought he was coming to Toronto, and I really do think that he just used them for leverage and that he knew all along that the Panthers had been telling him, we're going to try to get really creative, and that they had all those guys in on him and Bennett taking those deals that they did and figuring out weird creative ways, but he had to have a threat to make the Panthers do something like that, which is clearly uncomfortable with the term, right?
To pay Brad Marchand until he's 43?
Yeah, and I think similarly, Shohei needed the same thing when he signed, which was, I got to have a credible threat for the Dodgers to make sure that they go into making sure Boris gets the record-breaking money. With Kyle Tucker, $300 million is a ton of cash, and I would guess that if the Jays are serious, that it's somewhere around that, like over 300. But if you are him, I would think that there is some part of you that looks at it and goes, okay, I'm not even close to the number that I went into the season thinking I was going to get. I watched Vladimir Guerrero Jr. get $500 million, and I sat there and went, well, if he's 500, I'm 400. And because he had the season, which, as you mentioned, was very good, but not overwhelming, the idea of if he went to the Dodgers and signed a one-year deal with opt-outs and won a World Series and had clutch moments and also got paid a ton of money for that year, had a little bit of security, was in that lineup, I could see it. Like, I can just understand why people are talking about the short-term thing, because a year from now, it's not like if Kyle Tucker rakes and has, a fringy MVP season, someone isn't going to pay him $400 million.
I don't know. Because first of all, where's the proof of concept of that season? He's had great seasons. No question. He finished fifth in MVP voting in 2023 with an .886 OPS. He had 29 home runs. He had a lower on base in that season than he had in 2025 at the age of 28. And
how many games difference?
21.
Okay, that's not really anything.
I mean, he played 136 this year. He played 136 games, and not all of them at 100%, and he still put up a 377 on base.
I guess that's why I think about it as a longer injury, is that, like, every time I was tuning into a Cubs game to watch him when he came back, it was like, hey, he's playing kind of compromised.
And, kudos to him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and ultimately, it hurt the numbers.
Well, if you got $400 million on the line, you're going to try to make sure you're out there as post as much as possible.
Yeah. I don't. So what's the scenario that he has some outlier season that he's never had and he hits 40 home runs?
Yeah. No.
He hit 37 in 2023 when he finished fifth in MVP voting. Okay, maybe that's in the cards, but that's only 2 seasons ago. Like, why wouldn't that impact free agency now? Right? He hasn't declined from then. Like, all the rate stats are the same.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see this, like the Pete Alonso deal before last year, or the Pete Alonso season that necessitated him taking the short-term opt-out deal with the Mets was different than this. It was a real down year.
Mm-hmm.
It was down. And I still believed in the power potential, but I get it, why he didn't get his money. I don't get why Kyle Tucker wouldn't get his money if he's not getting his money off on the basis of a hurt 2025 season where he still played 136 games, hit 22 homers, had a 377 on base, stole a bunch of bases again, stole 25 bases. Like, I don't get it.
Here's the other part that I don't get that doesn't get mentioned by anybody. If you're Kyle Tucker and you're getting a long-term deal from the Blue Jays and it's sitting there, right? And it's the $300+ million. So sure, say the Dodgers are offering you more money AAV for the next 3 years, but you've got the opt-outs, right? Mm-hmm. You've insulated yourself during the lockout because if the lockout happens, because you'd still be getting the higher AAV in that year. But what happens if there is a lengthy lockout? Like, how could you dismiss that it doesn't happen entirely, and then you're another year older and you're on a short-term deal?
Yeah.
Like, now you're 2 years into that deal and you've been trapped into it, and you're looking at it.
And there's maybe a new CBA where it makes it harder to sign these big money deals.
That to me is the biggest part of why I don't, because I get the 1-year deal on the premise of he's betting on himself, he's getting more money this year, and he really does think, like Boris has told him, man, if we just wait, we're going into another year. Next offseason, I've done this with you already. Mm-hmm. There's Acuna and there's him. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yeah.
There's nobody else. So he gets to basically be the star of free agency another year. And then maybe, and this happens, and this is a real thing, if he has an amazing season and you are the Mets, and I would think, you're still the Blue Jays because now you're that year where the money's coming off the books. You feel that little bit of, oh my God, we're getting another shot at this guy. We can't blow it this time. Maybe they are upping the offer. Mm-hmm. But the lockout piece of it and just having it be, and that new CBA and the uncertainty of what that's going to be, I would just think there has to be more impetus for you to say, I'm going to lock this up and remove some of the variables.
So I think Bo's his market has been underserved. I think he proved that being healthy for the majority, basically the entire season until the last couple of weeks of the season, he was the same guy that to me.
Bo on one leg can hit. He's so good at hitting that he can be on one leg and he can hit.
To me, he proved to everybody that 2024 was a total outlier.
Yeah,
that had nothing to do with who he is.
Yeah, I don't. The only who he is part of it is, does he get hurt?
Sure, but like, okay, so he's don't slide into a catcher's
shin but
pad.
No, but that's the thing though about that stuff is, like, when you get hurt doing thing. And it was a bad slide, whatever, but it also had to do with the way that he runs.
Anyways, the point is, I think he's back. But I do more understand him and his market cratering to a degree where he has to take that shorter-term, higher AAV with opt-outs and maybe and prove it once again in another big market, and that he can play defense a little better at second base. Like, I get it more. I don't understand why Kyle Tucker would take that. And why that would be the only thing available to him, even with his horrible, no good, very bad season where he had an OPS plus of like 130.
I don't think it's horrible bad. People are still talking about giving him over $300 million. Anyways, take a quick break, come back, and I want to talk about the weirdest thing about this Raptors season. That's next. I didn't realize how late we broke. I thought we were early.
You're bad at this, eh?
Yeah, I am. I like the first block. It's the go block.
It's a good one.
That's where I got the most stuff. Anyway, all I was going to say is that Raptors are now 15 of their last 17 with RJ Barrett. Mm-hmm. I think they're 16-6 with him in the lineup. And he's the guy without the contract. And I just don't know what exactly they're going to do with him, like, moving forward, because he feels so integral. He was so awesome last night. Quickly hits the big shot, but man, like, when there's all these trades, right? They're like, hey, Anthony Davis is going to go, and that's going to happen, and RJ's got to go out, and you got to move RJ. And all I keep looking at when we're doing this is they're in the weirdest spot with him because he's clearly the contract that you'd like to use to improve your roster, and yet he's the guy that feels the most additive out of the non-Scotty Barnes Ingram guys on your roster anyway. It's annoying.
So, yeah, that's your take. It's annoying.
Yeah, it's annoying.
It's confusing.
Yeah, quick break, come back and talk to Sam Hallam. This guy's been coaching in Sweden since 2006. Must have been a baby. The head coach of Sweden's national team is Sam Hallam. Hey, welcome to the show. Thanks for doing this, man.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, how old were you in 2006?
2006, geez, you started with a tough one. I'm born in 79. You did the math.
Yeah, but it's like, but you were a baby behind the bench coaching. Like, you were.
But I didn't coach 2006. Jesus, who's your researcher there?
Oh, okay. That's why, guys. That's my team. Yeah. I was like, they put that in there. I was like, 2006. I was like, that's
2006. I was 27, 20 something. Just starting my coaching career on a low level.
No, but that's what I mean. They said that you've been coaching as an assistant since 2006. So I'm saying, like, you were a baby coaching as an assistant. Hey, that's our research team is good. All right. You apologize to our research.
Yeah, you've done your job.
The boys did a good job. I was like, how could they do that? I read it weird. Okay. So my first question with you, man, is just, you're an international coach. You've got all your players playing in the NHL. When you're coming up and trying to make this roster, and I know the Four Nations would have helped, but how much hockey are you watching a day? And what does your schedule look like in terms of trying to evaluate these players?
Well, I think number one, we're used to like scouting NHL, preparing for the World Championship. So for us, it's normal just to looking at building a Team Sweden, from what we got in North America. But then for the Four Nations helped us a lot. And then to my help, I got Joseph Boumedienne, has been in management in NHL for a long, long time. And now Alexander Steen, that's assistant GM in the St. Louis Blues. So it's us three that's doing a lot of work. Yeah,
that is, again, though, it's got to be so much tape because you're watching all these different teams. That's probably why you love the Toronto Maple Leafs, because you have two of your players on the same team. So you're like, okay, at least we can just watch two guys in one place.
Absolutely. And I mean, I do a couple of trips a year over to North America, trying to get in like 14, 15 days here and there. But then we also have a schedule back home in Europe. So I have to come back a couple of times here. But it sounds like we're talking about a grind here. I mean, you can't have a better job scouting NHL guys and building an Olympic team roster.
Well, I also don't think that you'd be where you are unless you truly loved it. Like, I think that is a big piece of this kind of job, is that it has to be your passion. And if it's not, then you get exposed before you ever get to a place like you are. So how much sleep have you lost thinking about the rink?
The rink, the size?
Yeah. Or just being built in the first place. Like, you're preparing this team. I mean, you put in all these hours and you don't even know if it's going to happen for quite some time. There's reports emanating like, hey, maybe this isn't a go. That had to terrify you.
Yeah, and then pretty quickly just felt like I got enough problems, selecting a team, preparing it. So I let somebody else, mind about that. I'm just expecting, I'm flying down to Milan on the 5th of February, and I expect the rink to be ready for that.
Yeah. I'm sure you've thought strategically though, because again, so it sounds like you're a control what you can control guy. So when the building
in this
stuff,
case, absolutely.
Yeah, the building stuff is happening, and you're like, you know what? I can't get down there. I'm not going to pick up a shovel. I'm not going to help build it. So I guess I'll just have to wait and see. But then when you find out that the rink it's what, 3 feet shorter, I think, and a little bit wider, how does that enter your thought process as a coach?
Not at all, actually. I think that if we wouldn't talk about it, if we didn't know the numbers, I don't think we actually would have recognized the difference. And at the same time, it's the same rink size for both teams on the ice. So it's nothing we're like putting into our system to change anything.
Yeah. So I did mention, you got 2 Leafs on the team. Oliver Ekman-Larsson was not on the Four Nations team. And so I think that he did come as a little bit of a surprise to many outside of, I would say, this market, because here in Toronto, he's been one of their most consistent players. Like, I gave out my grades for the Leafs' first half of the season a couple of days ago, and not that it means anything to you, but he was one of only 2 players that got an A as a letter grade, because he has just been a stalwart for this team, consistently really good, providing offense. His game has, I think, taken a step for the Leafs this season. But I'm curious what you guys saw as the biggest difference maker for him versus last year when you were selecting the Four Nations roster.
Number one, I think last year was 7 spots on the D. Yep. This year we have 8. That adds 1. Then I think that Oliver's game, since he played for Florida, I mean, he's been a great skater, great puck mover all his career. But the time in Florida just opened up a new, perspective on him. And I think he plays a bit tougher, a bit, more aggressive. And I think this year he's just stepped up. And maybe it is that, I mean, the team is, I'm not judging the Maple Leafs in any way, but struggling a bit. But I think Oliver may be stepping up even more with responsibility. And maybe that was the thing that just put him on the right side of to get in on the 8-man D squad there.
Well, it's also interesting that, as you mentioned, he plays with an edge, right? And that has certainly developed over his time with the Florida Panthers versus when he was in Vancouver. And, when Canada was building their roster, for example, and we were having debates in our country about who should and shouldn't be there, that was a big part of it. Is like this, like you can say strategically, maybe the guys wouldn't have noticed it, but normally when you think about Olympic ice, right, you're thinking about a huge ice surface, and this is not. This is smaller than an NHL rink. And when you were factoring in kind of your roster, how important of a piece was that when it came to your guys, like making sure that you had a physical presence, guys that have an edge, and how much that actually factored into a decision like that?
It's a big piece of it. I think if you look at our whole D core, I think you see that they're pretty big. Maybe not known as physical players, but they can defend very, very well. And I think that with Oliver, that's the number one thing that we see. His defensive side of the game is so good. And he's a big player. He has a good reach. So, but at the same time, I mean, what we learned from the Four Nations is it's so tight out there. All 5 players on the ice on both sides are so smart, skilled. So I think Oliver's, ability to move, but also that aggressiveness. And it's usually traditionally in these kind of games, big games, Olympics, World Cups, Four Nations, there's not a lot of scoring. So you need to be really good defensively.
Yeah. Well, he's been that this year for the Leafs. And Nylander not healthy right now, not playing for the Leafs.
I know.
But
we hope he's going to play here soon.
Yeah, I think he's going to be pretty clearly ready for Olympic time. Even when they put him on the LTIR, it was retroactive, and it was been viewed very much as the day-to-day. I'm curious, from your perspective, what he means to your program.
William? Yeah. I mean, you know how it is where we need the big stars to get, parents to get their kids to the rink to start out playing this game. Mm-hmm. And I think William is probably our biggest superstar at the moment. So, I mean, he's the poster boy for a lot of things going on. And also with his, family tree, his dad was a really good player and played a lot of games and tournaments for the national team. So the name Nylander is huge in Swedish hockey. And I mean, William is probably our biggest superstar at the moment.
Well, it certainly seemed that way when he went to Sweden for the international series that the Leafs played in. Because he was doing interviews where he's like in a tank top, he's running around town, and it was just like, holy crap, you don't realize the level of that guy's celebrity in your country.
No, I know. I mean, and I think, I don't know if he knew it too. I mean, he spends most of his time over there. He's spent a lot of his youth time over in North America too. So for him coming home to Stockholm, doing some TV shows and being a rock star, I think William is all about what's on the ice. He wants to perform well for the Leafs. He wants to perform well for the national team. He wants to, be a difference maker, but at the same time to grow our game and to get more interested. I mean, William, as I said, a superstar for Swedish hockey.
Yeah, again, been a great ambassador for you guys. But, you see him in Sweden for sure when he was there, and he is that rock star, right? And one of the things that has made him a big fan favorite here is that there's a ton of pressure in Toronto, like to succeed, just a ton, and especially like not only the fandom that we have in this city, but he's inheriting being a great Swedish Maple Leaf, which is like, he's down the lineage of, Boreas Salming and then Matt Sundin being here and now being another great Swede for this team. And he wears it very well. Like he always seems very unbothered, through disappointments, through anything. And this has been like often something that he gets criticized for as well, because people question, okay, well, how engaged is he at times, right? The results have been there for him in the postseason more than they have been for some of the other guys. But do you think that there's something about him? Because you mentioned how everything's about hockey, that there is a lot about William Nylander that is misunderstood from people on the outside.
Yeah, I think with Williams, maybe the way he at times dresses or acts, or I think when you get to know him, you know how he loves to play the game. He loves to win. You mentioned the postseason where you can see that he raises his level and his compete level goes up to top level. And the way when he's back home for the summers, the way he works out, like he's not being given this situation. And I know that he really respects, to play for the Maple Leafs with the history of Börje. And then Mats being, huge players, and Mats being a captain. I know he feels responsibility to, step it up for those guys too.
So you mentioned that it was so tight at the Four Nations, and you've been the coach at World Championships as well. So, you're used to having international high level competition. But when you were at Four Nations, was there something that you felt was like materially different? Of course, it's best on best. Everybody's got their full rosters at their disposal. But was there something that you took away from the Four Nations that felt materially different than a World Championship?
I think just the pace of the game. I think the first game we played against Canada in Montreal was just, it was the quickest I've ever seen this game being played. When you stand down there on the bench and you could also see the players for how they were reacting, looking at each other is this serious? Can we play like this? And they can. When you play for a country and you play with the best guys, so I think the pace was one huge thing. And with pace comes decision making. You need to be so quick in decision making. If you, slack for half a second, you're beaten. So just the decision making and the pace was something that I remember was breathtaking.
Yeah, again, it really does seem like you guys have incredible buy-in with your program nationally. Like so many guys go back to Sweden during the offseason. You always end up with a lot of players on your World Championship roster whenever that call gets made. But yeah, now you do get this added tournament that happens in last season. And yeah, I think a lot of people, especially in this country, do, not that Sweden was an afterthought, but the Canada-USA games for us were so intense, right? Like, we had a lot of political strife between the two countries. They hadn't had best on best in a very long time. And it ended up being this gold medal game that felt so weighty for Canadians that we really do kind of crystallize the memory of that tournament as the two games against the United States. But you guys are overtime goal away from beating Canada. And when you look back on that and you've tried to take lessons from that tournament moving forward, because like you mentioned, the quickness and the pace of the play, is there an area with your team that when the tournament finished, and you had this time between now and the Olympic break that you looked at it and said, you know what, this is going to be the area that we emphasize when it comes to where we can most improve?
Yeah, absolutely. And I respect the rivalry you guys have for you guys, but Canadian and US, it's like us and the Finns.
Yes.
But I think if you look back, our analysis was, I mean, I'm not going to talk too openly about it, but when we play with the foot on the gas, like when we don't step back a little bit too much, maybe, and when we try to drive the game, we know we can compete with any team out there. So, and I think that was the case during the games too. We saw where both in the Canada game and the Finland game, where when we really tried to push our pace, that's when we are at our best.
Well, and I guess I'll kind of close with this line of thinking, which is, right now in Canada, we're having large conversations about the identity of the group, right? Like, I'm sure you're following the World Junior tournaments again. Congratulations to Sweden. Why wouldn't you follow them?
Thank you.
But we have had a spot now where there are big-time, multi-layered discussions going down from development to what is the identity of your group when you have such a large gap in best on best, right? Like, you got a little window of it with the Four Nations, but it had been all the way back into Sochi since we have seen these kind of tournaments. That's a long layoff for guys. Like, how many guys do you even have on your team that were a part of that? Like, I'm guessing like maybe 3 or 4 like that have actually played.
Maximum.
Yeah, maximum 3 or 4 that have played in Olympic hockey in their past. Of the responsibility of a head coach and of a national team program to try to instill a culture that is passed down to you year over year and imprint that as an identity of the group. And I'm curious, from your perspective, what do you view as the identity of Swedish hockey?
I think the situation is we're like 1/10 out of everything you have in Canada.
Yeah.
Player, rinks, coaches, everything. But the culture in Sweden is so strong. So we have so much good youth coaches out in every small team and every small rink. So, and I think our culture also brings in where you really play for each other. I think we're pretty used to being a smaller country, whatever it comes to sports, but we usually can achieve pretty much together in team sports against bigger countries. And so I guess that comes from a bit of society. As a smaller country, you need to really step in and play for each other. Our World Junior team was a great example of that. I mean, you could see the best players with Ivar Stenberg and Frondell and those guys really stepping up and doing the team stuff, blocking the shots, taking the hits, doing the back check. So I think that if you want to build a culture thing on Swedish hockey, I think it's the team first mentality.
I like that. It's, we try to overcomplicate things and you try to look at it and go, hey, how materially different is their culture from ours in terms of what it is that they're looking for? It's like you could have just taken that and put it as Canada versus the United States and we would do the exact same thing. It's like, hey, we're a much smaller country than the United States. We're a fraction of their size. We use them, still as a measuring stick a lot of the game. It was the same thing when Russia was in the tournaments as well. But what do you want to do? You want to play from each other. You want to play hard. You want to make sure that you're blocking shots, that you're invested in your teammates, and that you play with a level of passion when you're wearing the country sweater that does feel like you are completely invested, that the little minute details of the game become oversized to you, not to the point where they become, crippling mentally, where it's, you're overthinking, but that you can leave regardless of the result and feel like you gave absolutely your best effort.
Yeah, I think you put that. I mean, that could be my speech pretty much coming into Olympics. There's so small margins in the game. I mean, if you look at the World Juniors, I think Finland had a overtime shot on the crossbar.
Yeah.
I mean, that could took us to the bronze game instead of playing the final and playing, and winning the gold. So you need to be a bit humble for that. But if you can step into a term like this and make sure that you're the best teammate you can be, you put out everything you have together and, you're 1 of 25. So just, be that part of it and maximize what you can do to optimize our performance. I think we can walk away and feel pretty proud of what we're doing. And if we do that, I think we have a good chance to, take us all the way.
I like how you said, I think they hit a crossbar in overtime. Like you didn't watch it and you didn't stress out about it. As though you were looking, I guarantee you were with people watching that game. You're like, I can't believe how close that was, or at least had a conversation about how close that was. Because, it was that close.
But that's also funny. We're talking culture and everything. And I guess in Canada now, we're talking about like, okay, we got knocked out 3 times in a row against a Czech team. And we lost the quarterfinal in the Worlds and stuff like that. But it's so small margins. But for Swedish hockey, this was huge. Just winning a gold. I think it's the third time in 50 years on the World Junior stage. But we can see that if we can put teams into the under 18 and under 20 World Championships, and we can be in the medal games pretty much every year, we know we're doing a lot of good things back home. And this year we were a bit lucky, but I think also at the end of the day, we actually deserve that gold.
Yeah, no, I think you absolutely deserve that gold. You know, you saw it throughout the entire tournament. Like, you dominated in the round robin. You played great in the playoffs or in the elimination games. And yeah, they absolutely did get a result. Sam, I would say best of luck, but you know, like close to best of luck as possible, right? Like that's what I would say is I really hope your team performs well, that you guys can be happy with it, but that you're still chasing the Canadian standard at the end of it. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah. Take care. Thanks, Sam. Really enjoyed that. Sam Hallam, the head coach of Sweden's national team program. Yeah. I can't imagine how much those guys consume and how much that there is to actually do. And, you know, the junior thing, when he's talking about the fine margins, that hasn't crept into the top level of international play. And I am a little curious to see how this team performs. And I don't think that Canada's going to, I think if Canada loses at the Olympics, maybe they get beat because there's some good teams there, man. Like the USA is loaded. Sweden's got a great roster. But that you're probably still going to feel as though it is a choke. I think the conversations that we're having about development in Canada and culture in Canada and where the game is going are not going to become overly, I don't want to say serious because they're serious right now, but that it's not going to, nobody's going to hit the 5-alarm fire until it starts to creep into the best on best tournaments. And that because they've been gone for so long and because there are so many staples that are on the roster that you do feel such a high measure of confidence in it. I think that the part of it is that it's going to get dismissed with, hey, it's kids and it's a crop and it's this and it's that. If it ever gets to the point where it does reach Team Canada level at the Olympics or at whatever the Four Nations ends up turning into, that's when I think you're going to see the entire country start to take this a little bit more seriously outside of just the people that are directly involved in hockey communities. It is Leafs game day. Score a Popeyes chicken sandwich for only $6 in classic or spicy. Make it your new game day tradition. Get your $6 chicken sandwich at a Popeyes near you. Quick break and we'll hit what we missed. A couple quick things before we do what we missed. One, it's Leafs game day. Score a Popeyes chicken sandwich for only $6 in classic or spicy. Make it your new game day tradition. Get your $6 chicken sandwich at a Popeyes near you. One is, yeah, man, Macklin Celebrini, the goal that he scored yesterday. Just another insane highlight for this season's highlight reels. And it's just got to be noted that I think he's 8 points back of McDavid right now. He's 19 years old. It's absurd. If he played, like, I know he's in San Jose, so there's almost more of a mystique to him because people don't watch the games day to day when you start at 10:30 at night. Like, it just doesn't happen on the East Coast the same way. I'm sure the hype in San Jose is absurd. A fan base that does have a pretty solid track record over a decade of winning hockey. So their fans probably get it. But there is just no understating the potential for what this guy, and it's not to put it on his shoulders, but when we're talking to Sam Hallam and we're talking about the Olympics, just what a breakout megastar he is going to become because of this tournament. And I think we overdo the impact that Olympics can have at times when it comes to, well, the youth sport stuff is going to go through the roof, or the economy to the places that host, whatever. But one thing that is a just knock it down certainty when it comes to what we have missed with international play is, the ability for guys to become heroes on a different level in their own countries and in the game. Like what it's going to do for Austin Matthews south of the border if he's scoring a game-winning goal to win gold for the United States. What it's going to do for Macklin Celebrini if he's second in points on Team Canada and they go to a gold. Like, the impact of that is something that hockey I don't want to say overlooked, but it's felt like they've tried to diminish it. Like their product is enough, their product is enough, their product is enough. And that's always been Gary's messaging when they've skipped all these Olympics. But yeah, not like what would Sidney Crosby be without the golden goal, but think about how much that changed. He was like a polarizing player before that Olympics. There were some people who weren't fans, and then there were some Canadian people that were. And now, if you were ever to say something bad about Sidney Crosby after that Olympic event, it's like, nah, it's blasphemous in this nation. You can't get away with that. And anyway, I'm very excited to watch a bunch of high leverage, full stakes game for a 19-year-old who, again, is only 8 points back of Connor McDavid, the universally best player on the planet right now. I think he's like it goes McDavid, McKinnon, and Celebrini is 1, 2, 3 in points in the NHL, which I feel good about. Which I feel great about heading into the Olympics. But for him to be with those two guys at 19, absurd, under-discussed. Like, truly, we did this with Shea, where there were so many good Canadian players that we started to, I think, be a bit dismissive of great Canadian basketball players because we got accustomed to it. And Jamal Murray won an NBA championship, and he was so important on that team. And Canada, we obviously focus differently, I think, on the biggest stars that are up and coming in our game. But there was like kind of like hey, it's him and it's Bedard, and they're kind of the same. And yeah, Bedard could be great, and I'm excited for him to return. And I do think that he'll have a huge, huge, huge career. But yeah, man, Macklin Celebrini might be different than what we thought he was when he got. I know he got drafted first overall. Stupid, kind of sounds stupid to say it, but you know what I mean. Like, I don't think that people looked at Macklin Celebrini and thought, hey, maybe he's going to be the next Nathan McKinnon, Sidney Crosby. And now at 19 years old doing what he's doing, it's hard not to think that that's at least on the table. 2, Raptors game last night. So I mentioned it briefly with Ennis, and it was kind of rush thought. Didn't really get it out properly. But yeah, the Raptors won that game yesterday because of RJ Barrett. They lost Brandon Ingram to a thumb sprain. I don't know what the timeline's going to be on a thumb sprain. The x-rays came back negative, so that's a plus. My guess is that it's not going to be too much time. When he did leave the game, I didn't know exactly what had happened. They just said that he went down the tunnel, and I was kind of terrified because that's the Brandon Ingram experience, right? He's going to probably get hurt. He's played a lot of minutes, and he's had a hugely important role. But they lose him, and immediately this offense is dreadful. They just can't shoot. 18 straight missed 3-point shots. That's the point where, I wanted the Raptors to win the game, and I'm rooting for them, and I want them to figure it out. But you get to 18 missed threes, and you start thinking about Houston Rockets' 27 record and saying, maybe they'll get the record. And then Mamu hits one, and yeah, Matt Devlin celebrated it like he should have, it felt like a monumental moment. A guy hitting an open three. But God, RJ was good in that game, and just there's an attitude to the way that he plays. A dog in him. He's talking to the Hornets bench, and he's getting to the basket, getting N1s. I do think, by the way, the Raptors got punished by the officiating last night because they were bitching too much, and they had just had enough. And it was a very different whistle for Charlotte than it is the Raptors. And normally I'm not a complainer about ref discrepancy, but that was a game where it was absolutely very clear and obvious that they were calling it a certain way, one end of the floor, and the other way on the other end. And I think that the Raptors were at least in part to blame for it, given the way that they reacted. But yeah, Barnes has to leave for some stretches and quickly couldn't hit water from a boat. They don't have Jakob Poeltl. They don't have Brandon Ingram. And this guy just carried them. And the point I was just trying to make with Ennis is it's a really confusing situation. They had an opportunity to extend him, and they didn't. There are a ton of rumors associated with the Toronto Raptors. And at this point, if you're doing a trade, a big trade, and I don't know if one's going to happen. I think that the Raptors are sort of in that pocket. Same thing with the Hawks, where they seem to get linked to everybody because they have all their draft picks and they have some salaries and they've got a couple of decent young players. I don't know how hard Bobby Webster is going to hit the acceleration button, given some of this team's flaws. But it's just the reason why it feels so strange is that I don't know how you could possibly give RJ Barrett the contract that he needs and be structured and locked into this team, essentially. Because I don't think it's going to be easy to get off the Poeltl money. Not if his back is like this and there's no proof of concept that he can still play. And Emmanuel Quickley, as much as the contract is going to get better year over year, and listen, the shot was amazing. Good for him. Shooters keep shooting. I love that. And he did adjust his game where the three wasn't falling and he started to get way more in the paint and shooting the floaters. And he's got that pump fake Blake was talking about yesterday that he's really added to his game, the little bit of foul baiting that he's looking for, which like in a good way. But, he could have been he was very close to big IQ conversations today when he played as poorly as he did, and like LaMelo Ball blows by him so easily on the go-ahead bucket that forced them to hit that three. Like horrendous defense by Quickley and tough help defense from Mamu. It's not really what he does. But yeah, you look at the roster and there's a lot of positive stuff. Barnes has taken the step. Ingram has been great and invested. Mamu's been a good find. But they don't look anywhere near a championship level team. And the idea that you would remove RJ Barrett from this group with what he brings, that intensity that he plays with, the ability to get to the rim, the credible shot making, the attitude, all of it, I would be looking at different avenues than losing RJ Barrett. I'm just becoming more and more of an RJ Barrett believer, and I think that he's the kind of guy that you want to have on a team that's trying to win. And that putting him in another deal for somebody else, even Anthony Davis, who sounds like a better roster fit if he's healthy, it feels more lateral than people are giving it credit for, and it certainly does when you consider there were rumors that they tried to put him in the Brandon Ingram trade. And what it would look like this season if they had done that. And what the roster would look like from a depth standpoint if they had done that. So anyway, I don't think that this guy gets enough credit. Maybe he does, but on this team, it seems to have been very focused on, hey, it's Ingram, it's Barnes, and these two have had great years, and they absolutely deserve the credit that they've had for it. But man, RJ has just been so additive this season, and I genuinely feel like his game has taken another step. And he just, at times, still feels like the leader of this team. Like the guy you want the ball in his hands late in a game when you need to get to the basket. I know I want a Brandon Ingram shot. I know he can do it like that, but man, oh man, Barrett is good. Barrett is really, really good. And he's not cannon fodder in a trade for the Raptors to go out and get some piece that isn't a certainty that it's an upgrade. Anyways, Armin is here. What did we miss?
Well, I want to follow up on that because there was a report in The Athletic from Sam Amick that Anthony Davis would be open to amendable was the word that they used, to come into Atlanta or Toronto if he was traded. So I don't know if Dallas is trying to work with AD a bit. Rich Paul is obviously his agent. We know how influential he can be. Do you think RJ leaving and AD coming is not like plugging one hole and then the other hole?
That's what I'm saying. I'm getting more and more to the point where I think that it's tough because if you remove Pirtle and you bring in Anthony Davis, you've got the same problem with your centers, which is like you don't have two centers.
Yeah.
It doesn't really seem easily solvable for them. And AD is not healthy either. So the idea of like you're trading Pirtle who's hurt and getting back a guy like AD, it's like you kind of feel as though you're almost in the same predicament, but with a guy who has a higher ceiling as a skill set. Like AD's a better player than Jakob Pirtle, but Jakob Pirtle's really good when he's healthy, and he's really important to this team when he's healthy. To me, the conversation is really becoming more about, hey, can you move Emmanuel Quickley? And then you're thin at point guard. You just are. But maybe you feel as though you can kind of cobble it together for the meantime with Shed, Barnes, RJ handling the ball more. It's just, okay, yeah. I guess where I'm going with this, though, is that the Raptors, like, to use your visual there for people that are watching on YouTube of, like, you're plugging one hole, you're creating another. That's my biggest problem with the Raptors trying to make a trade right now. And I talked about this with Blake yesterday, is they're not deep enough. And they have too many areas of concern where when they're removing one piece to try to address something, it really makes them feel like they're way too light in that area. Like, again, Quickley shot the ball horribly yesterday. And I think, what is his 3-point number this season? Like 34, 33.
I'll check, but you could tell by his post-game comments too. He didn't want to celebrate
he knew.
a 3-point game winner.
He knew
like that was
how bad he played.
Yeah.
He played poorly. He just did. Again,
it's been a little stretch now.
It has been, and he's a minus defensively. He just is. By the way, horrible day for my Grady Dick take of like, hey, you got to play him more. And then he goes in there and it's just like he's getting murdered defensively every possession, and they can't play him in a game where they missed 18 threes in a row. And you're like, oof. He's getting killed by Jeff McNeely. Like
I don't even know who that is.
Oh, come on. He's UConn. He's their first round. He was a first-round pick for them this year.
35% for Quick.
35? Okay, that's higher than I thought it was. Yeah. I honestly thought that it was 33, 34.
On 7 attempts.
Yeah.
A game.
It's a lot. So, yeah. Anyway, if you trade quickly, God, that hurts your shooting, though. Because he is a credible floor spacer, and he is somebody he's the only guy on the team that you feel good about pulling up in transition and shooting a three, other than probably Grady Dick. But that's not really what he's doing. He's not bringing the ball up the floor. He's catch and shooting transition.
Yeah.
Like Brennan Ingram, when he does that, I actually hate that shot. That's one where I don't like it from Ingram. He can knock down a three. I like that. But in transition, the pull-up three, I don't know how many of those that Ingram's hit this year. So anyway, the point just kind of remains of you're looking for ways to augment your roster constantly. I just don't see AD as a piece for this team right now, given his age. And also, this report, the idea of like, oh, AD's amenable to come to Toronto or Atlanta. Like, of course he is. Rich Paul wants to get him a new contract.
Yeah,
so anywhere that trades for him, that's the worst part about the AD trade. If you trade for that guy, this isn't you're absorbing the contract and you're going to see a couple of years. Like, why do you think Trae Young went for so little? People were shocked. They were like, oh, is trade values this low? I went, yeah, because someone has to not just pay him the $49 million now. They got to extend him. Who knows what he wants? You think that it's not off the table that Trae Young's going to ask for the max? And do you really want to pay him that? Like, I don't.
No, I don't even think the Wizards will.
Yeah, maybe not. And they probably won't, given what his market is around the league in a trade. But Ingram got more than I thought he was going to be able to get. Quickly got $32 million after the trade. Like, it puts you in a really advantageous position when a team gives up real assets to get you. That's the only benefit that Washington has is they gave up C.J. McCollum and Corey Kispert. So
I like Kispert, but yeah,
whatever.
They're two role players.
And Corey Kispert in Atlanta already has what's his name? Played in Detroit and the Clippers, the Duke guy, the white guy.
I'm blanking.
Damn it. Anyway, whatever. I don't even really know what Corey Kispert's role is on that team, but whatever. I don't view that's. It sounds so weak when I keep saying they're in a tough and tricky, and I don't know how they ride the spot, but it's really true. They don't have obvious moves to make. I wouldn't really be wanting to move off of a first-round pick right now for a roster that is not going to be able to accomplish a championship ceiling.
Then hold it down. Because IQ trade instead of RJ. RJ will probably include some draft capital on the Raptors part going on.
But that's it. It's like if you're the Mavs and you're trading AD, the difference with the Trae Young trade, although I don't think it should be, and not enough people mention this, which is frustrating to me. Everyone's talking about the AD trade and how they need to get something back because they traded him for Luka Doncic. So did Atlanta for Trae Young.
Yeah. It is crazy how much those guys are intertwined.
Yeah, so if you want to do the worst moves in NBA history and you're going to point out how, Trae Young made the Eastern Conference Finals because Ben Simmons he got monstered and lost all of his powers over the course of a series with the Knicks, then I think it should at least be mentioned that a guy that could have been Luka Doncic for your organization just got turned into C.J. McCollum and Corey Kispert. It should at least be mentioned. Someone should just throw it out there. Like Sacramento and Atlanta missing on Luka Doncic. I know we treat the draft different than a proven commodity in the NBA, and as we should, obviously. There's far more unknown when it comes to picking someone and putting them in the league. But what's that guy's name? Travis Schlenk, the GM that was like, he's going to be the next Steph Curry. Well, you could have actually had a guy who scores like Steph Curry and Luka Doncic, and you turn him into Corey Kispert and that. So anyway, to get to it is, if you're the Raps and you have to trade a first-round pick to get Anthony Davis, I don't like it. You have to move off of one of your contracts, like a big contract, period, and more, and you just don't have the depth among your good players to be able to make a trade like that. And I just do not believe that the Dallas Mavericks are going to go, Jakob Poeltl quickly, whatever, and throw in, Grady Dick And that's enough for us, and that's what we're going to turn the Luka trade into. I just don't see it happening. But from AD's standpoint, I totally understand why he is doing the I'll go anywhere because he needs to get paid. Yeah. At this point, he is not. Also, as much as it is the bubble championship, he does have a ring. There probably isn't that same urgency for him to go to a landing spot where he feels as though he's going to contend year over year be in the mix.
Also a guy who's like won at every level.
Yeah. So I just don't know if that's what he's looking for at this point. I'm guessing the read is.
That's a red flag too.
Yeah, of course.
It's a red flag that Dallas doesn't want to pay him.
No. I think it was, I can't remember who said this, so I don't want to get it wrong. I think it was S. It was like, do you really want to make the Jermaine O'Neal mistake twice?
Yes, it was S.
Yeah. And that is how AD feels to me. I think he would be better on the team when healthy, but by no means do I feel like the Raptors would be entering a series without one or two of their main guys that they have now, and Anthony Davis and his health concerns, and banking on the health of Brandon Ingram and Anthony Davis, two stars that have missed more games than just about anybody over the last 3 years, and thinking, yeah, this is the formula for success. So no, I'm still out on AD, and honestly, like that's where I'm going with this. Is I don't think that the price point is going to drop to where Trae Young's is, where you don't need to add a pick. Mm-hmm. And I also don't think that you have the contracts to move out like they did with McCollum, where it made sense where they're at least investing in a younger player. And the Wizards are. So I guess I'll kind of transition to my thoughts on that trade. I actually don't mind it for the Wizards. You're the Wizards.
No.
You're the Wizards and you got Trae Young. And yes, the contract is going to be a big part of this. And there's certainly questions about how Trae Young builds a culture and a team around him, because there were a lot of reports out of Atlanta for a couple of years now of guys didn't really love playing with Trae Young. He's too ball dominant, and the assist numbers are the assist numbers, but he's not actually a very inclusive player. You have to play the way that Trae Young wants to play. He's not going to fit in. You're going to have to fit in around him. But they've got a couple of things that have been working out for them. Like the Koulibaly kid is good. The Sarr has been, I think maybe, like an actual real hit for them. They're in way more games this season than I expected them to be when we first looked at it and said, oh, okay, like they're just going to be a bust and they're just going to be the Washington Wizards. Like they've got a couple of at least intriguing young pieces where you add Trae Young, you're going to add another draft pick this year, and you feel like, okay, man, we've been in the lottery forever, and what have we hit on?
Yeah. If they're good in a few years, then he's one of their best players, and it works out. Like I heard Justin Bourne on The Real Kipper and Bourne yesterday mention that about Nick Robertson. Like if the Leafs want to rebuild now, well, Nick Robertson will be 28 by the time, if they're good in 4 years, And it's kind of the same concept I'm thinking with Trae in Washington.
All right, what else we missed?
Let's switch gears. Nick Kyprios on Sportsnet.ca. Go check out his article. Yesterday, he dropped a couple Leafs nuggets. It's the NHL Trade Buzz article. He mentioned Jason Robertson as an idea floating around the league.
For what?
Jason Robertson to the Leafs. It would cost Ben Danford, Easton Cowan, plus more. Contract talks are not going smooth with the Stars and Robertson. Robertson's looking to get paid $12 million or more. How do you feel about Robertson on the Leafs? How do you feel about the acquisition costs? How do you feel about paying him $12 million a year?
I'm not going all in on this team. Period. It's the same thing with the Raptors.
Let's say they're going a 5-game winning streak.
No, it doesn't matter. There's nothing that is going to tell me that based on what the Leafs have done, that they should completely empty the cupboards, lose, I don't even know what Ben Danford's value, like when he says plus, like that makes sense to me because I've never spoken to anyone credible about Ben Danford having real value in the league. I know he was on Team Canada. What were your memories of him on Team Canada is what I would ask people. It's not like I thought he was horrible or anything, but yeah, it wasn't exactly like
a standout.
Yeah. And you talk to guys like Bunkis and they say, yeah, he could be a good bottom pairing defenseman. So I don't think that that's like a coveted piece that you're moving. I'll put it this way. I actually don't even think that the Leafs have the pieces to get him. Like when Kipper says plus, if I'm trading Jason Robertson, I'm not doing that for Easton Cowan and Ben Danford and a future Leafs pick. Like you're going to be able to get because you're going to be able to get a better offer from somebody else. Someone else will want to pay him. I also don't think that that's the fit for this team is a guy like Robertson. Okay. They've got a Robertson. So for me, yeah, of course, there's a price that everybody would pay, and they clearly could use some more skill on this roster. But I'm not doing a panicky big time overhaul this team. To me, this year for the Leafs is very much you stand pat-ish, even if you get hot. If you get hot, good. That just shows that like you've got potentially a roster to do something. Maybe you add around the fringes because that's what you have. But you see how this plays out, and you see how if it is different in the playoffs, and then you adjust moving forward from there. And then you might have to ask some bigger questions about your roster moving forward if the season goes belly up. Like, as much as this has been a great stretch and Matthews has looked great and all the other dominoes have been in place, it's a small sample of the season. They're still outside looking in off a playoff spot. They're not a guarantee to make the playoffs. Yeah, if they're red hot and they're amazing come deadline time and they decide to get a little friskier, sure. But to me, this is about finding out what you have already, not about what you could add to this group. That's it for me.
Okay, and in Kipper's piece, he mentioned Cowan was dangled for Brayden Schenn last trade deadline last season.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That would have been a huge mistake.
Do you think that's a bit revisionist? Like, do you think you felt like they could go more all in last year?
I like Brayden Schenn, but this is the thing, man, about the deadline is it turns everybody into idiots. It just does. We all end up doing the same thing, myself included. I've always been a person that has looked at the deadline and been like, man, that is a crazy price to pay for that guy.
Yeah.
And yet, when I get wrapped up in it, I go, well, they should do it. It's like, you got to try to win, and this team did this, and this team did that. And I loved the idea of Brayden Schenn for this team. There's so much to like about him, and Berube's track record with him, and the Leafs' need for more center depth. All of that was, like, very clear. But and Scott Laughton is not Brayden Schenn. I'm not going to make that case at all. And they paid a heavy price to get Scott Laughton. It was a first-round pick and a real prospect. But even that, you look at it and go, okay, well, he was on a cheap deal, and you got the extra year, and now Laughton looks like he's really fitting in with the team and he's important. And yeah, I don't know what kind of a upgrade, like it certainly would have been one, but how different I feel about the Leafs in terms of their Stanley Cup chances with Laughton versus paying way more for Brayden Schenn. I don't know, man. Because it would have been Cowan plus a pick plus the thing. And then you would have come into the season and been like, what do they have? What else is there if this doesn't go right? And that's when you have to get into crazy conversations where you start to move off of really good talent. If you do need to make a pivot, when those trades don't generally work out great for an organization either. And I don't think that the Leafs are at that spot. So, yeah, it's always revisionist history. But a lot of times when you look at those deadline trades and you're getting an older player and I know he's not a rental, but it was actually kind of different where his contract would have been bigger. I guess it would have saved you from probably signing like a Dakota Joshua or something that you didn't really spend your money on great. But either way, man, no. Deadline is total idiot season, and I get wrapped up in it, and I will again when it happens. I reserve the right to change my opinion.
And it's a bit of a weird deadline this year, right? With the Olympic break. There's like
Olympic break, and also just like how many teams are flat. We'll see how this ends up operating. Anyways, we're back tomorrow. Mitch Bannon and Dave Damashek. See you then.